ईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वः प्रचोदयात्। ॐ Sai Ram. We're all blessed today on Buddha Purnima to have yet another alumni amidst us to inspire us in this series that we started a few weeks ago. Thanks to Haryana. I will let Haryana take over from here and introduce Dr Kiran Patel before he starts. Jai Sai Ram.
Om Shri Sai Ram. Pranams at the lotus feet of the Lord Bhagwan. Dear brothers and sisters, happy and holy Buddha Purnima. We are very blessed on Buddha Purnima to have Dr. Kiran Patel from London, United Kingdom. I know him as my chemistry professor when I studied in the Swami's University. First batch student for us, the first batch lecturers are Dr. Kiran Patel on chemistry, a very silent, saintly person, a great inspirer. He was our bhajan in charge. And though I'm not good in studies, chemistry I never scored less because his teaching was so good. He used to teach chemistry as abbreviations. So we don't have to study the subject. We remember the abbreviations what Kiran Patel sir taught us. We go to exam hall. Easily we can score minimum 70%. That was the capacity as a professor. He really professed that knowledge. More than that, as a bhajan in charge, people like me who are novice in bhajan, he inspired us so much. Today, if you know Hariharan, 100% reason is Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba, along with Dr. Kiran Patel, brother. That is the level he has, and more than bhajans and other things, he was quite a person. He will have a small smile if he has to say something. His actions were our guidelines for us. He inspired us so much. We are ever grateful as students to Dr. Kiran Patel and Buddha, a great avatar. I always used to think when I was in college, he never talks much except his lessons, or if it is anything has to do with bhajans, otherwise he doesn't open his mouth. So I thought on Buddha Purnima Day, Dr. Kiran Patel for us is the biggest blessing. To see him, I find it is a blessing. Today, let us listen because he's much before an alumni. He would have had more greater experience. So, Kiran Patel sir, he told me not to call him sir. I should call him brother, bhaiya. I should call him. But my respect says I should call him at this time, sir. Sir, please share with us your heart today. Thanks a lot, Sairam.
To our Bhagwan. And I consider this as a very great blessing to be amidst you, to share what I learned at his feet. And I know that each one of you will be having your own experiences, a very special experience. And if we were to collect all that, we would be ending up with volumes of the glory of Satya Sai. And to our brother Hariharan, thank you very much. I am really, really humbled. I'm really humbled. Thank you very much for those kind words. I just wish to start my life in Kampala, because this is where I come from, Kampala, Uganda. And how I was introduced to Swami. It was in 1964, when I was the age of 10. We had a card, a Diwali card, that just dropped in. And on that card was a photograph of an old man. We didn't know anything about this old man. And we were querying and we didn't know, we just couldn't locate or identify. So as typical, we took the card and left it near the window sill. After a few days, one of our neighbors walked in and says to us, "Hey, you got a card of Shirdi Sai Baba." And we said, "What? Shirdi Sai Baba? Who is he?" And then he said that he was the incarnation of God. He passed away. Now he's reborn as Satya Sai Baba. We said, "Oh, Satya Sai Baba." They said, "You know what? There is a small place, a center being run here in Kampala in his name." And, you know, when I reflect back, I cannot believe what happened there. The entire family just was aligned. Absolutely no challenges, no questions on who this Satya Sai Baba was. It was as though we had known him for years together. There were a lot of holy people coming to Kampala at that time, but we were always skeptical about them. But about Satya Sai Baba, it became a very natural thing for us. So we started going to the center there until, as you know, in 1968, Swami visited Uganda in Kampala. And that was the only country outside India that Swami had visited. And I can remember that first day that he drove into Kampala. At that time, I had only seen Swami in a photograph, but to try and relate the photograph to the physical presence of Swami was just incredible for me. He was like a magnet. I just could not keep my eyes away from him. He walked out to the car. It was early morning, about 1:30 when he arrived. There were still 200 people around just to have his darshan. And Swami went, walked amidst everybody, and then he retired. And, you know, a few stories like he had taken a group of Africans. At that time, I was the age of 14, very young man. So I joined our little Sevadar group. And we used to observe all these ins and outs, goings and whatever. Swami had taken a group of Africans for an interview. And we were very curious. How will Swami communicate? These fellows don't even know English, you know. And after they all came out, a lot of them had rings and all sorts of things. And then we queried, what language, how did you communicate? How did he communicate? He said, "Hey, I spoke in Swahili, you know. Swami had spoken to them in Swahili. So Swami was able to communicate to everyone, bringing everybody together. I remember that I was one evening just standing in front with all the other boys, and Swami walked past us, looking at each one. And that was a time that he just hit me on the shoulder here, you know. And that was a great blessing. It was like the commander-in-chief walking amidst army people, and literally he had selected me, I thought, at that time. On those days, Swami used to have very hot food. Every afternoon we used to have prasadam, extremely hot. Tears used to fall down from your eyes, so hot. Even your tongue would burn. Amazing amount, how hot. And we could not believe, wow, how can Swami, you know, palate this type of food? But that was his food, very hot. And on the day that Swami departed from Kampala back to India, it was a very sad day for me. And I can remember, I don't know what, something had stirred in me. Whole day I cried. I cried and cried. As though I had lost somebody. And then life continued until after that, my mother, she went to Prashanti and Swami gave her an interview, and Swami told her, your father-in-law, that is my granddad, was very serious. You better go back to Gujarat. So she went there and straight as she came back to Kampala, after a day of her coming back, we received a telegram that he had unfortunately passed away. And I can remember this incident when we saw the telegram. Swami looked at my mother looked at Swami's photograph, and she said, shouted at Swami, could you not wait for a few days? Because she wanted my dad to go and see him. At that very instant, that garland on Swami's photograph just fell. And the entire room was full of the aroma, the fragrance of Swami's vibhuti. And I told my mom, did you see that? Swami was here and I could feel Swami's presence. Until then, my time had come. I finished my studies and I had to move on to the next phase of my education. And I had sent a word through my brother. My brother was the first batch of student. He had joined in 1970 in the Brindavan campus. And I was very excited when the things that he wrote, you know, he used to write letters. And I told him, can you ask Swami, if you don't mind, that I want to join his college. And Swami instantly told him, yeah, I will tell him to come. And so this was at the end of the first summer course in Brindavan, May 1972. I landed in Brindavan. We were just standing just outside Swami's interview room. Swami had called one or two devotees, and as soon as the interview got finished, Swami came out and looked at us and he said, Kya samachar? And then Naveen pushed me. I don't know why he was pushing, but he went and touched Swami's feet. And I And I was feeling a bit, that what will people think, a bit of apprehension. And because he pushed me, I had to still kneel down near Swami's feet. And I knelt down about a meter away from Swami. And then Swami asked me, what is your name? And little bit things like that he asked me. They said, Jao, go and sit down. So at the back, behind Swami's ashram, there was a big marquee. That is where the food was served and also the bhajans were held there. So bhajans were going on, and I walked into this marquee. It was packed with devotees. And Swami was just walking behind me, and I thought, let me just go and sit down somewhere. There was absolutely no place except one big pillar was there where nobody would sit because they wouldn't be able to see Swami. And I just went and sat down there and enjoyed the next few bhajans. And then after that, obviously, Aarti finished. From the back staircase, there was a back staircase in the old ashram. The Swami walked upstairs and went away. Few of the students also followed him there. And I didn't know what to do. So I was just hanging around. And my brother Naveen then came down and called me that Swami is calling you. So I went over upstairs. And then Swami said, where were you? I was searching for you. I said, Swami, I was just sitting there. I couldn't see you. And that really put me into a spin that people say Swami is omnipresent. He knows everything. He is everywhere. Why is he asking me that question? Because he must have known that I'm sitting there. And that was, it really put a few thoughts in me that what was going on. And then the next thing Swami said, there are about 8 boys here who are staying with me. You also stay with them. So for the first time ever, I saw this, there was a veranda next to Swami's bedroom. And the only thing that separated the veranda from Swami's room was this big window. And through that window, you could see everything that Swami was doing. And I could not believe this. Swami then went to his room. All the students got in there in the veranda, and they were through the window, all peeping through what Swami was doing. And I also started peeping in. And next 2-3 days, that continued. And this was amazing to me because I was thinking, see, my whole concept of God, very abstract. To me, God was something super, like a Superman, And if you called upon him, he would straight away come and help you and whatever. That was my concept. And I was seeing here Baba, taking some letters, opening letters, reading them, picking a phone call, making a phone call, sitting down, sleeping like an ordinary human being on the bed. And I thought, what is going on here? One thing I noticed at that time, he was so loving. He used to ask me, how are you? Did you sleep well? Did you eat well? That I can't, the love and that human form. And at times when boys were sleeping down, they had their own linen, so they used to sleep on the floor. Swami at times during the night used to open the door and just peep through. Is everybody sleeping? No. And this completely, threw me into a twist. That what God Can God be like that? You know, a lot of holy people we have seen, they've got a stature about them. You know. And it's literal, you can't touch them. And he is very much wants to mingle with us, joke with us, laugh with us, eat with us. This is completely mind-boggling for me. And afterwards, after a few years, I started realizing all these things that you start contemplating all those experiences. And then you realize that, you know, the purpose for which he had come, his mission was with people. He wanted to develop, to create this kinship with people around him, with humanity. And he always wanted to go and mix with them, laugh with them, cajole them, be part of them, and in the process, expand their consciousness. That was the big thing, that by mixing and being at that level, expand their consciousness and raise them up spiritually, so they become good people. Soon after that, when this was happening, the next day of me joining, you know, there was a caretaker by name of Sri Ram Brahma Garu, our Hariharan will know. And this Ram Brahma Garu was looking after the affairs of the ashram and Vrindavan. And he comes to me and says, Baba bola, tumhara sideband bahut lamba hai. Your sideburns are very long. So immediately I cut them a bit. Next day happened, he again comes to me. Swami bola, tumhara sideburns bahut lamba hai. Again it went up. It is like a chisel. I was chiseling my sideburns one after another. And this continued for 3 days. All the time, this conflict was going on in my head. That, why is he telling me this, all these things? No. At this rate, I may lose all my hair on my head, I thought. And it was, I mean, this confusion, this conflict was happening from my little self, with a little s, little self, call it my ego or whatever, was trying to resist him. And Swami wanted to interfere with my life. And in a way, I didn't want that. You see, my whole understanding of why I joined Swami's institution was, Swami has got a college. Good, okay, I can do my studies. I didn't know much about Swami at that time. So Swami will be doing his own work and we'll be doing our own work, the two running parallel. But now what's happening is Swami is taking a 90 degrees angle and coming straight at me and trying to interfere with my life. And I still gave in. Okay, I got the command from him. I will go on cutting, until such time that one evening we were standing downstairs and Swami had just finished. Imagine a nice, lovely evening with the cool breeze blowing, and there was Sai Gita. And Swami is going to Sai Gita and feeding Sai Gita with apple, with banana and all that. And Swami looks at me there and he says, come. So I go to Swami and then Swami says, turn round. So he looks one side or side one. Okay, turn the other side. So that also he looks and says, Abhi acha lagta hai. That was the start. It is because I submitted to him. Next morning, Swami was leaving for Prashanti Nilayam. And my classes were still due in another 2 months. So I approached Swami and said, Swami, can I come to Perthi? And Swami said, yes, avo. Come by SRS bus from Bangalore and it comes to Puttaparthi. So that is what happened. My first trip to Prashanti Nilayam, SRS bus, I think it was taking about 6 or 7, 8 hours, can't remember. It used to go,
8
yeah?
hours.
Yeah, so it used to go through each and every little village and very tiring until I landed at the portals of Prashanti Nilayam. My own imagination would be that, oh, there'll be nice, lovely accommodation there and all that, nice eating places. So I went and I asked somebody, where can one stay here? You know, he said, I was pointed down to, there was a Ganesh shed just near the, near the entrance to the Ganesha gate. Yeah. He said, there. I said, oh, really? Okay, so I took my bed sheets or whatever, went and few people there, and I also parked myself there. So that was the first start. And I tried to search for the canteen and all that. And they said, no, there's a little canteen, but that is shut now. So anyway, they sat around, I said. And next day morning, I started inquiring, where are the bathrooms here, And they said, no, sir, you go outside, these little shops are there, the little hotel-like things they were. You give a few naya paisa, and they'll give you a little tin. And then, that big hill there, that is where you go, and it is sort of like a stone age. Never ever seen anything like this. And for me, it was shocking. And for a moment, I was thinking, oh, why did I land up here in Puttaparthi, And anyway, what I had to do on the hill, I've done it. And then they had these cubicles for the bathroom, and literally they were transparent. And I was feeling so embarrassed. Tried to find one without a hole and all that, so like air conditioning, And ultimately, I had a shower and all that and finished. And then I saw all these other people going over near the mandir. It was full of sand, and they were just them sitting around. And suddenly Swami came out and there was complete silence. And then Swami started walking. And I was not expecting this, but he looked at me and said, Jao. And I didn't know where to go. And then there was, I think it was Kutum Rao. He said, no, you go and sit down there, Or, I think it was Kutum Rao. And so I sat with the other devotees and we were taken in the interview room. This was my first experience of what Swami did in interview room. And just sat down, and after that, he started calling each person, either they were couples or single person. On the left, there was a circular staircase leading to Swami's bedroom. And that is where, Swami used to draw the curtain, the little what interview used to happen and finished, and came my turn. By that time, I had already made a list. I'll ask Swami first this, then that, and then that, and then that. I had everything in my mind. And Swami said, oh. So I went. And I saw this staircase circular. So Swami was on the higher steps above me there, and looking downwards. And then, kya samachar? And then I was just about to start. And then he just started listing out this. And then Swami said, dusra kya? I was completely dumb. There was nothing more to talk. Then Swami looked at me and said, yes, I said, Swami, acha hai. The Swami really looked into my eyes, piercing eyes. And then Swami said, Kampala, what were you doing at that time? Didn't know what Swami was talking about. And then he started looking at my eyes and said, that smile. And, his eyes also going like that. And literally my memory started going backwards, straight down to the time. And then Swami said, kya, smoking try karta tha? What it was there was a drum. This was way back in Kampala, a young man. There was a drum there. And I had found this cigarette, and I was trying to light this cigarette behind the drum so that nobody can see me. And Swami made me remember of that incident. That incident had completely vaporized out of my head. And Swami brought back that particular memory. And that after that, it sent shudders into my system. And then he said, Father ko kuch bhi malum nahi. So Father doesn't know anything about this. So don't worry. And then he told me 2-3 other things about my life. And brothers and sisters, I was sweating by then. All my hair, they were standing upright. My entire body was shivering. For the first time, my concept of what God was and what God really was, 2 different things. I could not believe that. And then he said, Jao. So I just went and I just sat down with the other devotees. And then I could not look. I didn't have the strength even to look at Swami at that time. My head was completely down, drooping down. And Swami had already was walking amidst all the devotees, giving namaskaram and whatever. And then Swami had created some vibhuti. My eyes, everything was closed at that time. I just didn't know what to. My body was in a shock, and he catches my hair like that and does like that. So my head goes like that, and he puts a big vibhuti tilakam like that. And that was the end of the interview. That was the first introduction of who Satya Sai Baba was. Sent shivers down my spine. Then in the afternoon, what happened? Again, I was sitting amidst the devotees there. Swami was walking past on the balcony he had, and just walked past, seeing all the devotees there, and he nudged me upstairs. He just did like that, and so I ran upstairs, and what I saw there was, what Swami really was, his mission, I suppose. And what was it? As soon as I walked down, I saw Swami cross-legged on the floor. He was sitting there. And he had a pile of letters there. So as soon as I went there, he said, there at the other end, Dekho, there are 2 bags of letters. Go and get them. So I went down there, picked up these 2 bags of letters and brought me a Swami. And then Swami said, sit down, you also. So I was sitting next to Swami. And Swami was opening a few letters. And then Swami said, you also remove the letters, one by one, check them. If there are any checks or money, you put it on this side. And any of the other letters, you put it on the other side. So that is what I was doing all the time. And Swami was opening the letters of devotees, putting them away and whatever. And I was just collecting all the monies and checks and putting them aside. And I was reflecting at the time, this thought passed me. Look at this whole room. It was, I guess it was about 8 foot, 9 foot long by about 6, 7 foot. That was Swami's room. And I just could not believe it. And I thought to myself, what a boring place, And, I was thinking of all this and this. There was a bed there, and, the cobra. That was that old style bed, which was an oval shaped. I think, Haryana, you might have seen that, with a cobra there. And you would imagine that Lord Narayana would be taking rest there. And this really opened up my eyes. And then Swami looked at me because all these thoughts were going in my head. One fan, on the top. And Swami said, Hamara devotee, Swami said. And I just looked at Swami. Yeah, okay. And then Swami says, Ye hamara kam. this is my work, he said. My devotees, my work. And that was a real eye-opener, and all these conflicts or whatever that I had of God Almighty and whatever, brought home the point. And then I realized, that this is what, he wanted to create that kinship with humanity. He wanted to serve them all the time. And in the process, give them exactly what he wanted to give. And that was a real eye-opener for me. Nobody, all alone, sitting on a floor, opening letters of his devotees and responding however he was responding. No, my real eye-opener at that time, first time ever. And that left deep impression for me. And then after a couple of days, Swami was about to leave for Vrindavan back. Because a lot of these trips were happening. There was a lot of construction work at the time in Prashanti. That's why specialists to come, give them guidance, go and have a look. And then Vrindavan used to be his main forte. I would say 98% of his time he was spending in Vrindavan, and probably only 2% in Prashanti Nilayam. And particularly during festival times, he used to come to Puttaparthi. Otherwise, it used to be Vrindavan. So he was going back to Vrindavan, and Swami approached me and told me that I have made arrangements for you in one of the devotees' car to go. So you follow my car. And I said, yes, Swami. And interestingly, at that time, Professor Nanjundaya, he was very new at that time. And he had also come to Prashanti Nilayam. And, Professor Nanjundaya's story also, it's very different. He had a high position in Bangalore University and a big future for his career. But under Swami's instruction, he dropped everything and came to serve in this little college of Swamis. At that time, I'm saying little because it was little, literally a few isolated blocks, little buildings. He would have made a lot of money, a lot of wealth in Bangalore University, but sacrificed everything. My first introduction to him at that time, because he also was in the same car. I can't remember, one of the devotees was driving that. And so I was sitting in the front seat, and the entourage, all of them started to go back to Vrindavan. So a few miles away, then there was another car, 2-3 cars behind us. So everybody was trying to compete. And why not? Everybody wanted to get right behind Swami's car. And I was shouting at the person driving. I said, quick, why are you allowing them? And I started blabbering all sorts of words, inappropriate words, with these devotees who were trying to compete, all sort of foul language and all sorts of things, and shouting and whatever. And at that time, the Puttaparthi roads were very narrow, and there was a little miniature bridge that was under construction, and the cars were slightly detoured, and Swami's car also detoured, and these 2 cars, the devotee's car in front and ours in the back, were going pretty fast. And suddenly Swami's car hit a brake. It just stopped. And the car in front also stopped, and ours was so fast, and it went and rammed into this car. And there was a big bang. And after that, Swami's car just speeded away. He had the curtains at the back. And I was praying to Swami, Swami, look, what a wonderful work we did. Please wait. And Swami's car just drove away. Ours were the only 2 cars because, the ambassadors, they had these metal bumpers. They had jammed. They were locked in like that. The two cars couldn't move. And I got out of the car and started jumping on top of the car just to dislodge this. And ultimately it was dislodged. And a car in front, believe me, not even a single scratch. And ours, the radiator was steaming. Means we had awful damage. When he opened the thing, lot of damage. And he said, we cannot drive this car now. And those days, hardly any buses, as you know. You are talking about 1972. So after an hour or so, one of the local farmers was just going with his bullocks. And we requested him that, can you just pull us away? And in a bullock, some ropes were tied and car was taken to a local nearby village. There we were waiting for about a couple of hours. And a bus came, and ultimately we ended up in Hindupur. And Professor Nanjuna had some relatives at Hindupur. So he said, I got relatives here, let's have some food. And we had that. We took the night train, and ultimately we ended up in Vrindavan. And you know what was happening in Vrindavan? In the morning, Swami was going up and down the stairs. Have they come? Have they come? So he was inquiring, coming down, again he was walking up, again coming down, quite a few trips. So when we reached, the few students there were saying, Swami was inquiring about all of you. Then Swami comes down, and then straight away at that time he comes to me. Kya? Dirty language? Using all sorts of filthy language against my devotees? And then he goes to the driver and said, Buddhi Ledu, you did not have any brains. And then again comes to me, punishment, punishment. And then Swami describes what I was doing. Like a mad monkey, you were climbing on the car, the two cars couldn't dislodge, you were jumping like a mad monkey. Punishment. So the fatherly love was definitely expressed. I was hammered like hell. And then the motherly love. Thak gaya. You got so tired in a train and everywhere. Yeah, seat bhi nahi milya. Jao upar, breakfast. Go and have some breakfast, Swami says. Look at his love. That was the biggest lesson for me. Because Swami is very sensitive. He's very sensitive to the hearts of people, hearts of devotees. What I learned from that was anything that, negative you say to others, straight away reaches Swami. There's absolutely no doubt. Swami will feel each and every pulse that you send. And since that day, I've always endeavored, never ever have a negative, bad thought or say anything bad to anybody. Even if things are wrong, it does not matter. Take it, because it will just go to our Lord. That was my big lesson. And then, still there were a few days left for my college to start. And Swami had already gone to Prashanti. And I thought, I'll go to Prashanti. What am I going to do here? And at that time, Swami had given me a special permission that you can come to my room anytime you want. And I thought, right, I'll take advantage of this situation. So I went to Prashanti.
Oh, bless.
Yeah, that's right. And as soon as I reached in the evening, I went to the interview door, thinking I can just walk upstairs, And as soon as I opened the door, the two volunteers, they recognized me. They said, Swami has told you no, you cannot come in. And I said, really? Why? What have I done? Sir, we don't know. So you start introspecting. What would have happened actually? That Swami is saying, don't come. So I sat with our Ganesh shed and all that. And next day I was just sitting there. Now what happened was, I don't think I'd done anything wrong. Not at least at that stage. But what was going to come? And Swami Swami was going to teach me a big lesson. I was sitting down there, and there was a young man who comes to me. Now, this man, he was a nephew of one, Dr. C.G. Patel, who was a host in Kampala. So there were these connections. This guy had come from London. And I said, oh, okay, yeah, Sairam, okay, fine. And Swami came out, he was walking around, just completely ignored me. Then in the afternoon, I was just sitting there. This guy started walking to me and said, oh, how are you? He started greeting me. At that very moment, I could see Swami walking past, giving him a big stare at me. And then Swami started walking away. And I knew that Swami doesn't like students to keep this type of companies with anybody. And I said, this must be the thing. Let me just keep away from this guy. And then what was happening was, evening, again, this person started trickling towards me. And at that very moment, if you look at Prashanthi Nilayam, the Swami's interview room, his bedroom on the right as you're looking at it. On the left, there's a storeroom downstairs and there's up. Swami's interview room window suddenly opened like a chak. And Swami is giving me a big stare and tap, the window closes. Like a puppet show for children. Suddenly something opened, tang, and like a clown comes out and thing closes. So it was that type of experience. This continued for another 2 days. And believe me, the storeroom is that side. This man wants to come and talk to me, and Swami's window just suddenly opens, and I could see Swami's face there, and then the window shuts. And this was very frightening to me, because every time this man comes to me, Swami is giving me a big stare. That this continues until on the 3rd day night, our Kasturi Garu, in the evening, he comes and locates me in this Ganesh shed. He said, where were you? I've been looking around the whole of Prashanthi for you. Then I said, sir, I've been just here. They said, Swami has sent his word. He's very angry with you, that you are keeping bad company. Then I just said, sorry, sir, I didn't know about that. Is there anything you want to say? Because Swami is waiting. He'll be waiting for me, for your response. Then I said, sir, can you just, first of all, I asked him, sir, what should I do? He started laughing. Our Kasturi Garu, he knows all these dramas that Swami used to play. So he just laughed at me. He said, I don't know what, if anything you want to say, you tell me, I'll go and convey. Then I folded my hands and said, sir, please seek Swami's forgiveness on my behalf. Then what happens is he goes, and after about an hour, he comes back and says, Swami is still very angry with you. I did convey that to him. And Swami has also said that you are the worst student that he has come across. He has never seen a student like you before. Then I said, sir, I'm really sorry. I don't know what to do. Then he tells me, anything else you want to convey to Swami? So what can I convey? I just, I didn't know anything about this. Please, No, I'm just begging for Swami's forgiveness. He goes away again. And then again he comes back. Swami is not relenting. He's very angry with you. Swami has asked you to leave Prashanti Nilayam tomorrow morning. No. You go take the SRS bus and you go back. And then I said, sir, just convey my apologies. I'm so sorry about this. And then he says that anything else you want to convey? I said, no, sir. If Swami can give me some Vibhuti Prasadam after all that. And I don't know why, I mean, you're very happy to go and just be asking Swami for Prasadam. You should be asking something else, but nothing clicked with me at the time, no, to be honest. And he goes back, gets some Vibhuti Prasadam from Swami, and then I leave. And that ends my fantastic chapter on my Prashanti trip at the time. And go back to Vrindavan. After a few days, Swami comes back and to Vrindavan. And I wanted to keep my distance. You know, you already had a jolt from Swami, so let's not try and push ourselves. I was just standing slightly at a distance. So he was just walking past, and then he sees me and he says, "Ah, Kiran, kaisa hai?" He asked me, how am I, you know? And I just fold my hands, take namaskar. And it was like he has forgiven me. There's a fatherly love to teach you the sort of company that you keep. Swami was very, very strict about this. Be it a devotee or be it even a college student, just because you are staying together, you should not be keeping all these connections. You should not be having all these relationships. Big lesson. So ever since, I've been very, very careful about the sort of company that I keep. And then my college was starting. We are nearly approaching 1 hour, and sorry, I didn't even realize that.
We have just started. You're warming up. We have a lot more to go.
Oh gosh. My college was starting, and I had to join the pre-university course, PUC, because I had done my O levels in Kampala. And in that year, the PUC had changed from 1 year, I think it was called an intermediate before. And then it changed over to 2 years PUC. And so I started attending the first year. After I must have been 2 or 3 days, there was this green room and in Swami's ashram. And this is where Swami used to come and relax. And this is where the students had opportunities to be in Swami's company and whatever. And Swami asked me, so what are you studying? I said, Swami, I'm in first year PUC. And Swami, as though he doesn't know, he looks at the Professor Narendra, our principal, he says, PUC? And Professor Narendra tells Swami, Swami, it's pre-university course. Ah, first year? I said, yes, Swami, first year. Why first year, Swami says? You should be in the second year. No, Swami, that is the regulations. You join first year, then you go to second year before you do your degree. Swami looks at the principal and says, this boy, no, he should be in the second year. Why is he in the first year? And then even Principal Narendra tries to convince Swami, Swami, this is the system. You follow the rules. He should be in the first year. Swami said, no, no. tomorrow go to Bangalore. Go and meet the PUC board and tell that this boy has got to be in the second year. Swami, they won't agree. Swami said, go. So he goes next day, comes back, and as expected, he tells Swami, Swami, they have not agreed. And then Swami just does that. Leave it off. After a month, a letter drops in to the principal that after consideration of this case, the board has agreed that he can be promoted to the second year. So my 2-year PUC became a 1-year PUC. And then life continued. It was nearly in the same year, Guru Purnima time, I think it was. And we were sitting in the sands of Prashanthi Nilayam. I was quite concerned as my brother at the time about the fate of my parents. Because in 1972, as you know, Idi Amin, who was before the commander-in-chief through a military takeover, he took over power of the whole of the country and started dictating whatever he wanted to. Incidentally, I mentioned about Swami coming to Kampala and all that. Idi Amin was one of the persons with his family. Twice he had interviewed with Swami. Swami had material rings and everything. But who knows what is in plan? He wanted to expel all the Asians. So literally overnight, people's businesses were confiscated. And literally people started to become paupers. And all that they could carry is one suitcase of theirs. All the assets had to be handed over to the government. All the cash, bank accounts, everything was locked. You can't touch anything. They were allowed only 1,000 shillings. By that time, the currency had dropped significantly. It had absolutely no value. So we were very concerned. And so we were sitting there, and with that concern, Swami comes and says, "You're very concerned about your parents." And then for the next 2 days, Swami was giving a commentary on what was happening. Swami was saying, now your parents, don't worry, Swami is taken care of. Now they are living for Entebbe Airport. And then Swami said, after that, they will leave to London. They are going to London. But don't worry, Swami is protecting them. Don't have to worry about anything. And then afterwards, it transpired when, because we had not heard anything from them for the past 3 months. All communication channels, everything was completely broken. And I asked my dad afterwards, so what happened? Swami was saying that he has protected and hoped that you were all okay. And they were saying that, see, from Kampala to Entebbe Airport, which is about 22 miles, there are a lot of military cars, vehicles along the way. And they were actually stopping a lot of cars, and whatever little people were carrying, even that, they were snatching away. A lot of people were booted at that time. They were beaten up, and that is how they somehow managed to get to the airport and left. But he said in our case, very strangely, every army car that was there was just saying, go, 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 until they reached Entebbe Airport. And as soon as they reach there, there's an African. And he comes to them and says, come, you've got passport problems. Come, I'll help, I'll help. And my dad did have a passport problems, because when he went to see his granddad of the last rites, he was not getting visa, so he took a shortcut, and then coming back were problems. So this African came to him and said, come, come. So just didn't know what to do. There was nobody else around. It's best to follow them, follow this person. So got them clearance for the passport, the customs, and ultimately the parents managed to board the flight. And as soon as they boarded the flight, my dad was saying that he turned back just to see where is his African. And there he was. He was waving his hands. You see, this is what Swami's love is all about. He will take care of his devotees. This is a promise that he had made, as you know. This was his vow, the protection of his devotees. So my life with Swami then continued. Bhaiya, you please stop me, yeah? Because I'm sure that people, our devotees, will be tired after an hour or so.
I'm hearing such experiences. Please go on.
Okay, thank you. So I just want to describe our lives in the hostel, and Hariharan will know. You know, the old hostel that we had, which was right opposite the Sairam shed. There's a big dormitory with corrugated sort of roof. It had a lot of holes in it. So during the summertime, you could see light coming in. And because it's corrugated, that whole place was so hot. You put, I suppose, a potato, it would get roasted by evening. Honestly, summertime, it used to be so hot. That was our environment. And during winter times, it used to be like ice cold, like a refrigerator. And during the monsoon season, we literally used to wake up in puddles of water. And we used to search, which is the next place I'll put my bedding there and sleep off and whatever. But the biggest difference, brothers and sisters, was Swami. He literally used to come every day. At times, he used to come upstairs to the main dormitory and used to walk around and say, whose place is this? Whose place is that? Your suitcase? What have you got in that? Can I see? He used to get it opened, you know. I mean, just like a parent, what are you having there and what have you? This was a completely different type of relationship with the students. And downstairs we had our little, we had kadapa slabs where we used to study. We used to have our dinner there. And adjacent to that, we used to have a small kitchen. And literally every day Swami used to come. And as soon as Swami had given his darshan in the Sairam shed, he used to come there. And then we would have prepared some very light food, some snacks and all that. And Swami used to partake that. And then he used to say that, right, this, now go and distribute around. So we all used to partake. Swami used to materialize so many things, rings and whatever for students. I can still vividly recollect one boy. Swami had said, "Kya chahiye? Give your hand." And this boy said, "No, Swami, I want only Swami." And then Swami said, "Come." And then Swami took his palm, and Swami put his palm like that. And lo and behold, after a few seconds, you could see the glow on the face of this boy. And when Swami removed his hand, there was a laddu, bundika, bundi laddu. And Swami said, "Now take this, go and distribute everywhere." It was a worm, as though it has just come out of the oil, warm bundi laddu. So a lot of these things were happening. You remember also once he created Amrit, and he said, "Go give it to everybody," and this was all distributed to everybody. And so relationship with students was very unique. There was a small kitchen, but it had a lot of smoke because we used to cut our own wood. We used to get logs, and we all used to take in turns and cut the wood, and the wood that was used in the kitchen. So it used to be very sooty, black, even the floor and invariably Swami would want to go in and check what have they prepared today. And we used to try and block Swami's passage because we didn't want Swami to walk into the dirty area, I would say, you know. But Swami used to just push everybody away. I wanted to go in and taste what rasam. He used to have a taste of that everything was fine. And see, this was the care, how much care the Swami used to take for the students, just like a parent, at a very, very human level. Although he was, you know, almighty, you know. And I can remember one incident in 1973. It was Shivratri time. Swami was in Vrindavan, but he wanted to go away somewhere. So he had asked a bus from, or hired, if I can call it, the bus from Anantapur College, the women's college. So that bus came, not a perfect bus, it was an old bus. It probably had its time, I don't know. And that is where we all students were accommodated. And Swami had told all the devotees, nobody to follow and all that. And so the entire entourage, it proceeded, followed Swami. And on the way, Swami had stopped. And you would have recollected the story of Dr. John Hislop. You know, it was at that time. And Swami had stopped, and there was a little sort of tree, a small one, and he broke the twig. And Swami had asked him, what do you want? At that time, Swami put the twig together and just blew. And if you recollect the story, which is in the books, then it got converted into Christ on the cross. And Swami then told John Hislop that this is the wood that is there, is the original wood on which Jesus Christ was crucified, which is quite a memorable one. And then we proceeded and to the Madhumalai forest, and there was this guest house, and Swami took little rest there, and that is where we had, I can remember, curd rice and the yellow rice. All of us partook, and Swami rested for about half an hour, and then Swami said, "Now let's continue," and so we proceeded now into the forest. Shivratri night, but unfortunately, because of the trees, it was already so dark in the forest, and our lights, the bus lights, were already failing. They were very dim and hardly they were working. And Swami realized this. He stopped the bus and his car. And he said, "You just follow me." And that is what happened. And so we started following until we reached some sandy place. And then Swami just walked down and he said, "Let's just walk." So we walked a little distance. This is in the jungle now, deep jungle, until we found a very sandy area. And then Swami said, "Stop here." Imagine this is Shivratri night and moonlight. The only light was only from the moon. And then Swami said, "Sit down, let's sit down here, start bhajans." And we started bhajans. And then Swami then started building a pile of sand. And then the first thing that he pulled out was this lingam out of that. It was an amazing sight. And that it didn't stop at that. Swami said, "Karo, bhajans, no?" And then the next thing was Amrut Swami created in a small container. And that was distributed around to everybody. Swami himself personally was distributing that. And after that, whole spate of creations, I can remember Shirdi Sai Baba, there was goddess Lakshmi, goddess Durga, and I can't remember what else, but that was a night, amazing night that was. A very memorable night. And then whilst everything, when everything was finished, that Swami said that as he was walking, Shiva walked here, Swami said. And then we ultimately got into our buses, Swami in the car. Again, we followed. And then as soon as we got out of the forest, got to the main roads, then we were making our way back, back to Vrindavan. So that is what happened. A very memorable night it was. So this was part of our hostel, a lot of things that were happening. College, every morning we used to start with the Asatoma Sadgamaya prayer, which is what Swami himself had identified. You always start with that prayer. So we all used to, outside, we all used to congregate in queues, stand together, and we used to do those prayers. At times, Swami himself used to come and preside. He used to wait for a time, and as soon as the time, the bell rang, and Swami said, Karo, do. So he used to preside over the prayers of Asatoma Sadgamaya. Many a times, I can remember Swami used to just walk to a classroom. He just used to walk, and then everybody used to get up. Swami just sit down, and used to just sit on a chair and just listen for a few minutes. And then he used to just leave. I can remember my student days, again, chemistry. Sitting in a chemistry laboratory, and there was a lecture that was being given. I was a student at the time, and Swami suddenly walked in, and there was a vacant seat next to me. And Swami told everybody, shh, 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 and everybody sat, and the lecture continued. He sat next to me, then he says, he looked at a bottle. I think it was copper sulfate, And he looked at the bottle and said, Kya hai? What is this? I said, Swami, this is copper sulfate. What is it? Kya hai? Swami, it is a compound, our chemistry language. Usme kya hai? What is there inside? Swami, there are atoms, copper and sulfur and all that. What is there beyond? Beyond mein kya hai? Then, in an atom, you say, Swami, it has got a nucleus, it has got electrons revolving and all that. And then Swami says, what is there beyond that? Swami was saying, what is there beyond that? And then I just folded my hand. And then Swami whispers, God. Swami said, God. And then he smiles and walks away. See, this is how Swami used to, bring the message that we are all studying this academic education, which is important for our livelihood. But this other element of spirituality, that was very important. And many a times he has been giving this example of a bulb. A bulb is just glowing there, but it is the electricity which is the real power, and that is what God is all about. And this is what he was expecting all of us to imbibe. The both aspects of the curriculum, and the spiritual aspect is very important because that is the basis. And as we know in today's academic curriculum, it is very much for our livelihood, but nothing for living. And that is what we all our students were blessed with. That's why we was teaching all these things. So that was the type of lifestyle that we had in our colleges. The college was just a few sort of little blocks, um, and but the top rankers in Bangalore University, in spite of all the limitations that we had, came from our Brindavan College. Swami's grace, absolutely no doubt, no. And Swami proved that you don't need, grand complexes. Our laboratories were so very basic, but students were very clear, had the clarity, the understanding, and all that they had. Ashram, Swami's ashram, I'm talking about the old ashram. Then, of course, trail was built that superseded the old ashram. And I'm sure Hari Aranji and everybody, people of those old times would have had so many pleasant memories of ashram life. Most of the time, Swami used to spend with the students, and there was this green room that I just now spoke about. And Swami used to come down and sit down there. And there used to be piles of all these newspapers and all that. See, at the human level, he wanted all of us to be perfect humans. You need to be at the forefront of whatever knowledge that you've got. So he used to pick up a newspaper and flick pages like that, He is the omniscient, omnipresent Lord, but he used to operate at a human level to show us directions. And to elders around, there used to be politics and whatever. And he used to ask, what about this person? What about that person? And I can remember Blitz magazine. Every week something used to come and used to be very critical about Swami. And Swami every week used to ask the elders, so what is Karanja saying today? And they were saying, Swami is saying this, and Swami, this is what he's saying, and whatever. And as you can recollect, one day he himself wanted to come and examine, explore what Sai Baba is all about. And if you can remember, Swami then took him, gave him an interview, took him inside, and afterwards he came back. And there was the next, the headlines in the Blitz magazine, God is in India. If you can recollect that. Yeah. So a lot of such things used to happen, And on the lighter notes, my early days, the dining room was just behind on the ground floor. And we all students used to wait in the main lobby that once Swami has finished his food and all that, then he'll just pass by and we'll have his last darshan, a last sort of glimpse, Swami seeing us or share, or just exchanging a few words, take Swami's pad namaskar and all that. I can remember when I was very new, I used to run about and peep through, is Swami coming, not coming. Other boys also were doing. But one of the instances, Swami, suddenly I saw Swami was coming and I told all the boys, hey, Swami is coming, Swami is coming. And then we ran and stood in whatever position that we had to, try and get some prime position so Swami can spot us. And Swami was just walking, and came near me and looked at me and said, Swami is coming, Swami is coming. He whispered, Swami is coming, Swami is coming. See, every word, he's the omniscient, omnipresent Lord, he knows everything. And that is how he was imparting, this message and intensifying the faith of all our students. Once there was a suitcase, and this is very funny, and Swami used to pull me up for that. and Swami asked me, what is this? And I said, Swami, this is a bag. Swami said, bag? Yeah, bag. Swami, it's a bag. Swami said, not bag, Donapotu. That's a Hebrew fellow. Bag, bag, you know. Swami hardly had any education, if you think about that, right? At the physical plane. So he was, these are some very light moments with Swami. I can remember also once our Ram Brahma Garu, Swami had stitched, I think, was it a trouser or something it was. Yeah. And Ram Brahma Garu is quite a heavy built, big body he has got. Yeah. And Swami tells him, wear this. He looked at this and says, Swami, this, it won't fit me. Swami said, no, you do it, you wear it. And then, because Swami's command, if Swami said, do this, you do it. And this is what he did. He tried to wear it, and as he was wearing and pulling it apart, the whole of that just expanded, right, to give him the right fitting. So these little miracles that were happening. I think very many of our boys have got so many beautiful memories of that. Every evening we used to have bhajans, and Swami used to ask each boy to, you sing, you sing, you sing. And in those days, our Raja Reddy Garu was a role model for a lot of students. I think Hariharan also, he'll be knowing that. And our style of singing was completely different, but we all used to work towards that. None of us have had any professional sort of help or whatever, but within Swami creates that. And then of course from Raja Reddy Garu and other students joined, the whole style of singing completely changed and what have you. So very many pleasant memories. Maybe I'll finish with just one experience because it's approaching.
One bhajan also.
Sorry?
Sir, one bhajan you have to sing.
My bhajan, I think you sing, Hariharanji. Anyway, I'll finish. Let me finish with one experience, yeah. And this is for me a very mind-boggling type experience. This happened in 1974, and some of our students, we were sitting for our physics practical examinations we had. I was in BSc, second year. And at that time, we had the opportunity to go to Swami's room upstairs to seek his blessings. And so there were 3 of us in a hostel sitting. And we went upstairs, we were waiting, Swami got ready. And he came out and he asked, what is it? And then we said, Swami, your blessings for the exam. Chala, santosham, Swami said. So he looks at the first boy, asks him to take namaskaram, speaks to him. The third boy does the same, and he completely ignores me. Doesn't even bother looking at me. And in a way, I mean, this was very, very childish, I think. But I got so angry within me that why did Swami not even bother to look at me? And at that very moment, I said, I wish I would fail this examination. I was so angry. And I took Swami's namaskaram and then left. Went to the laboratory, and I get the simplest of experiments. Optical table, determination of wavelength of light. And I said, this one is so simple. I'll finish this in the next few minutes. and ho gaya, done. You need to set up this experiment. As soon as I'm setting up, nothing is working. I'm sweating. It's already a warm day and nothing is working. And I just could not believe this, that I can be doing this like this. Went on for a while and then I just closed my eyes and I prayed to Swami. Swami, this is over to you. At that very moment, in those days, Swami used to eat this pan, this betel leaf, and that is why you used to see a lot of redness around Swami's lips. So, and its fragrance is amazing, very nice, sweet fragrance. And suddenly I turn around and Swami physically is not there. I could feel his presence. And the next thing is that whole place around was smelling of vibhuti. And again, I'm looking around, is Swami around or what? Swami is not there. But I could feel his presence. It was so intense. And after that, my eyes were open, but I was as though I was taken in a different plane altogether, in a state of, I can only describe, perhaps that is what is called bliss. And it was only Swami and me and nothing else was around. And it was amazing experience. I felt so peaceful in that. Just didn't want to move out of that. And I don't know how much time passed that way. And I must have been just standing until about 15 minutes were left. And our Mr. Hegde, who was at that time our physics lecturer, he taps my shoulders. He says, 15 more minutes, and suddenly I come out of that trance, literally a trance. It was a divine romance, which I didn't want to come out of that. And I suddenly come out of that. 15 minutes. I was at great peace. None of these things matters, examinations or no examinations. And I took the piece of paper. I wrote down my name because the time is over. I wrote my name, what the experiment was and what class. And I gave a blank sheet to the examiner. And Mr. Hegde looks at that. He was shocked. And he says, Kiran, what is this? And I just laugh at him. Sir, please go and ask Swami. I was so happy, blissful. And I just walked away, having given a blank page. And when I went back to the hostel, it was evening time, tea time. I had my tea, and then the reality dawns. Hey, what am I going to do? Today evening there'll be bhajans. And I'm pretty sure Swami will ask those who sat for the exam, how did it go? How did it go? And I was already making plans to bunk that bhajan session. No, I didn't want to go. And then suddenly what happened? One student comes from the lab area and he says, the examiner wants to speak to you. So I go over and the external examiner tells me, see, I don't know why I am doing that, or rather this. I'm the most reputed examiner from Bangalore University. In my 30 years career, I have never done this. I will give you 30 minutes, just 30 minutes. Do whatever you can. And then I just fold my hands to him and said, sir, thank you very much. I really am very grateful to you. And then I go and start setting up my optical table experiment. I'm just touching it. Believe me, brothers and sisters, it is as though things just set itself up. An experiment that generally takes 3 hours, I complete this in 30 minutes and I get the right answer. And I know it's the right answer because there's only one wavelength of light. There are no two wavelengths of lights. And at that very point, I was so grateful to Swami. Very indebted. I knew this is all Swami's doing. I could feel his presence throughout. And in that gratitude, I hand over that paper and I'm just walking out of the classroom again to go back to the hostel. And then one student comes running to me and he says, Swami is calling you. So I rushed and Swami had just finished the interviews and Swami spots me there. He says, come. So I just come to Swami and then Swami looks at me and that with a big smile, Swami says, Dekha, Swami ka chamatkar. The Swami says, did you see that Swami is miracle? And I broke down at that time. And then Swami said, just go, take namaskar. Perhaps the one that I missed in the morning, Swami is asking me, take the namaskar. So I took that. And that is how the day ended. He's omnipresent. He can do impossible, the very possible. I think in conclusion, what I would like to take is just say that I think everybody has had, must have had a lot of an opportunity, a glimpse or whatever, but his blessings would be upon all of us. I think we should try and take every opportunity to connect to him, to be one with him. His primary mission, if we can call it, was our own purity to, in a first instance, purity of our thoughts, of our words, of our deeds. And let us try and strive towards that. We may not be perfect, but that is okay. We should try and do that. And most important thing, he lived his life for others, for humanity. Work was the only thing he knew to make everybody joyful, and we should take every opportunity to do that. I think we are the most fortunate of people because our roads have crossed the road that the avatar was treading. That was not accidental. I personally feel for every devotee, our lives are not ordinary lives, they are extraordinary. And let's grab that opportunity and not to forget that and pursue our only ambition in this life, which is Swami. Thank you very much. I think it has been, for me, a reliving of my experiences, reliving of my life near Swami. Sai Ram, and thank you very much.
Arina, would you like to say a few words? Unmute yourself, Anna. You're muted.
Sairam sir, Sairam sir, Kiran Patel sir, today you moved us so much and you gave that powerful glimpse of Swami where the unimaginable can happen when we are with Swami. You gave us the message. Education is not for living but for life, as Swami says. That was your wonderful message. And your hostel life, Rama Brahmam story here, it is unimaginable. The closeness, the physical closeness with Swami for all the devotees of Singapore. I think first time all of them are also getting introduced to this glimpse of Swami, where Swami lived with students and students lived with Swami. And your physics practical experiment, unimaginable in those times. And of course, with Swami, everything is possible. More than everything, sir, the way you have absorbed Swami within your every nerve of yours, every part of your body. And that gave us that fruitful listening from you, sir. We only pray that Swami keeps us in that state of oneness with Him and also give us more and more opportunity to hear from you, sir. We can't thank you enough. We are really, really blessed that this Janma we live with Avatar and also His selected instrument like you, sir. Thanks a lot, Kiran Bhaiya. Sai Ram. Thanks a lot.
Sairam, thank you very much.
Sir, we actually started this series with a Koday trip to with the 90s batch with Swami. Then we have been going back. It seems like Swami is connecting the dots. We have had Haryana and a few of them who came and talked about how the bhajan group started. Swami wants us to go a little bit back, and now you've gone and visited that part of it. We do not know what else is in store for us during this lockdown. But I think in this lockdown, we are locking ourselves with Swami, listening to all your experiences. And it's an inspiration for all of us to realize that He is around us, within us, and He is the instrument. He is the doer, and we are the instruments. Thank you so much for your time. We'll finish off with 21 Samasta Lokas. Kindly mute yourselves. We'll finish with 21 Samasta Lokas. And for those of you, the next satsang will be on Sunday at 7 p.m. Singapore time. Details will follow. Please do take note. We will send you the link by Saturday. Jai Sai Ram. Samasta Loka Sukhino Bhavantu. 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 Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Bolo Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba Ji ki.
Jai.
Saram, turn on your videos. We'll take one quick picture and then thank you so much, brother. We'll just take one picture of all of us. Can everyone turn on their videos, please?
Yeah.
One. Turn on your videos. We'll take one quick picture. Right. I don't see a few, but I'll try and take whoever is on. Sai Ram. Thank you so much, Bhaiya. Looking forward to hearing more the next time. Jai Sai Ram.
Jai Sai Ram. Sai Ram.